Hello everyone, I'm Julien Perrade. I'm a product manager at Elements here in France, and I'm really happy to be here. If you don't know Elements, we are an Atlassian marketplace vendor, and we have 4 Jira apps and 1 Confluence app on the Atlassian marketplace. Today I'll be talking about how you can get more out of Jira and Confluence together with the help of our newest app, Elements published to Confluence. So first I'm going to talk about how and why you should use Jira and Confluence together. Then I'm going to do a presentation of our app. And at the end, if you want, you can have a Q&A, you can ask questions. I will answer to the best of my abilities. So let's start. Why should you use Jira and Confluence together? Well, first, it's very interesting because you will have all your project documentation in one place. It means that your team members won't have to search across their emails, their computer folders, their Google Drive to find what they need. You can keep and organize release notes, requirements, and code reviews directly in Confluence. Second, it enables cross-team communication and collaboration, which means that it brings together your engineers. You can bring together your engineers and your other business departments, for example. So let's say that your business stakeholders will be able to see the status of releases and get the full visibility of team progress without having to go to Jira. Another point is that it will help you deliver faster. By that I mean that it will reduce wasted time and context switching when your team transition between Jira software and other resources. So once you integrate Jira and Confluence together, your team members who are performing software development in Jira will have access to the correct documentation directly in Jira. And you can also access Confluence pages from Jira with links or by connecting spaces to projects to allow developers to easily view documentation that is relevant to the tasks they are working on. Then it will help business team benefit from the reporting, meaning that Jira is, as you may know, Jira is always generating new data about project, about issues. New fields are being set up all the time. So it's constantly evolving, but your business teams might not have the time or the skills actually to look into Jira issues in detail to find the information they need. So that's where linking Jira and Confluence makes a lot of sense, because you can present status reports in understandable charts in Confluence in a simple user interface, so that your business team benefits from the wealth of data available in Jira, but in Confluence. So let's see what you can do by using Jira and Confluence together. There are many things you can do. First being, you can display Jira issues on pages, either the information from one issue on a page or a list of issues based on a GQL filter, for example. You can also create reports with Jira reports by using the Jira charts option in Confluence. You can publish Jira roadmaps in Confluence to track dependencies. You can add a shortcut to Jira from Confluence Space. To do that, you need to, I think, paste your Jira project URL in the Edit Space Shortcuts dialog box in Confluence. Then you can name the shortcut you need in Confluence for easy reference. And of course, if there is not yet a Jira issue that you need for the task you are working on, you can create directly a Jira issue from Confluence by highlighting some text in your Confluence page. On the opposite side, if you are in Jira, you can link existing pages to your Jira issue. And if you link your Jira software project to a Confluence space, you can see existing project pages from Jira and even create new empty pages. So let's say if you are using Jira Service Management, you can start creating a public knowledge base are directly from Jira Service Management request. So all of this is very useful, but what if you want to publish your Jira issues directly in Confluence? By that I mean not just create new empty pages, but take everything you need from your Jira issue and put it in Confluence without having to copy and paste anything by hand. That's what I'm going to talk today. So that's actually where Elements Published to Confluence can help. Elements Published to Confluence lets you publish your Jira issue data and create Confluence pages that include issue details and attachments and labels. It can be used with Jira Work Management, Jira Software, and Jira Service Management. And it's available only on Jira Cloud. So if you are using Jira Server or Jira Data Center, actually, the on-premise version of our other app, Elements Copy and Sync, will let you achieve the same results. But as the configuration is fairly different, I'm just going to show you how to do that in Jira and Confluence Cloud today. But if you have any question about our on-premise options, you can contact directly the Elements support. They will be happy to help. So let's start. As an example, we'll take a look at something you for sure have faced, which is a major incident in your day-to-day work. And imagine that you have resolved this incident, it's now behind you, but it's time to get your whole team together to do what we call a postmortem, which is to try and understand what caused the incident and what we need to do to prevent it from happening again. So that's where using Jira and Confluence together helps you the most. And we'll take a look at what such an incident issue looks like. So starting in Jira, we can see that we have here an incident ticket that has a lot of important information, like when the incident was created and resolved. It has components, it has a priority, and of course, a description and an attached file. A lot of this information is needed for your postmortem. We need to start off by describing what happened before we can analyze what went wrong and what we can do next. So as we don't want to copy and paste everything from this issue to Confluence by hand, or to do some kind of workaround, like for example, exporting your issue as a Word document and then importing your Word document to Confluence, we will see that actually our app Elements Published to Confluence works very well in this situation. So, so here the incident has been resolved and we want to create this postmortem. So what we'll do is actually go to this menu at the top right of the issue here and select Publish to Confluence. What we have next in this dialog is a list of recipes that we want to use. Here we are using the one to create a postmortem. On the next screen, you will see that there parent space and a parent page have been indicated on our Confluence instance, as well as a dynamic page title that has been automatically preset. So we can create our page, and if we click on this link here, we can access the parent page of the new page we have created, and then here is the postmortem we have just created. So you can see that the key information here from the issue is already on the page, so your team can move on and start discussing their postmortem. So we have retrieved everything we need, the description, etc. So if we go back to the issue and we refresh here, yes, we will see that a link has also been automatically created at the bottom of the page here between this Jira issue and the new Confluence page. So it's fairly easy for anyone to find the relationship between this issue and the Confluence page. So if we take a moment to compare, we can see what we have here in the Jira ticket and what appears in the Confluence page. So as you can see, the information from the Jira issue has been successfully published to Confluence, and everything is here. We have the description, we retrieve the creator on the right, we have the detection date and resolution date, the components, the full description, as well as the attachment. So as you can see, everything you may want to retrieve from your Jira issue has been published in the Confluence page. And now what we are going to do is look at how we manage this with our configuration. So I'm going to show you the elements published to Confluence configuration and show you how the recipe we've just used was configured. So here we are in the elements published to Confluence administration. And we can click here to see the list of recipes available on our instance that we have created. And this is the one we use to create a postmortem recipe. So let's open it. And the first thing we see is actually a summary of everything that's configured. So first we can see where this recipe is available. In our case, it's a project Tellurian support desk and on these issue types and status. If you need, you can also use a JQL filter to be even more precise about where the recipe is available. Underneath, we can see where the pages will be created. So in the space Tellurian and under the parent page, postmortem. If we click on each tab, then we can see the exact same thing and how it was configured. So here we can see that you can select several projects and issue types to say where the recipe will be available. And also we have here a configuration tester, which lets you see from which issues pages can be created with this recipe. So here we have 9 issues. If we go to the following tab, the target tab, we can decide where the pages will be created. So here in the Tellurian space, under the parent page, postmortem. And we can also publish these pages on behalf of any user we want on our instance. And we can, at the very bottom of the page, we can create automatically a link between the issue and the page. In the content tab, you can see how the page will be designed. We had a dynamic title earlier, so if I remove it, I can show you how I inserted the data from the issue. Here we have a lot of fields available, and I can select my fields. So if I want to insert my summary, the summary of the issue in the page title, I can do it quite easily. The same thing can be done with the content of the page, as you can see here, and we can also use Confluence templates if you want to. In the final tab, we can customize where the recipe is available. So either in the menu, as I showed you, and as a post function, which I will talk about in a few seconds. And we can also allow JSMU customers to trigger the recipe as well, but there's no need to speak about it today. So this recipe is saved, and as you can see, it's pretty easy to do. You don't have to code anything. You can just click, select, save, and everything can be done this way. So that's about what I wanted to show here. And then if I continue, as you may know, sometimes people can sometimes forget to do follow-up actions. So if you need to go to the menu and create a page by themselves, sometimes they can forget. So what we have done is that we can automate this page creation process. And what we did with Elements Published to Confluence was allow this page creation process to be done during a workflow transition. So a page is automatically created when you transition the issue, for example, to the resolved status. So I'm going to show you how it works now. So I'm back to my support project. The issue has been resolved, and we are going to change the status of this issue. So here, if I transition my issue to the resolved status, and I have a transition screen to select the resolution. I put a little comment and resolve the issue. If I refresh my page, actually, we will be able to see that a new page has been created from this issue just by doing this transition with a post function. Let's say to show you how it's done, I'm going to go to the project settings here and select the workflow I was using on this issue. So I go to workflow here. I'm going to edit this workflow. And on this diagram, you can select any transition in your workflow and put a post function on this transition. So let's say we are using this one. I click on post function. We already have a post function I've just used here for elements published, which create postmortem, but I'm using another one by selecting elements published to Confluence here. And then, as you can see, I can select any recipes that was available, so any configuration from my HAD app that lets me create automatically pages. So this recipe is selected, I can add it, then save my workflow, and the next time the transition will be performed, a new page will be created. That's it. So now let's see some additional use case, because you can do many more things than just creating postmortems. For example, with elements published to Confluence, you could create epic or user story details pages in Confluence by retrieving this information from the issues and put it in Confluence. You can create knowledge base articles with the same labels from the issue in the Confluence page, so you will be able to find them very easily, categorize them very easily. You can release, you can do release scope details publication. You can create meeting notes or minutes for tasks, and these meeting notes have dynamic titles based on what's in the issue. For your marketing teams, they can create blog articles from Jira issues. They can create campaign planning, event planning, webinar preparation. For your human resources teams, they can do employee onboarding, 90-day plans, and finally, for your business teams, they can do detailed requirements of requests, depending on priority, department name. Everything can be used from the issue to create very specific Confluence pages. And to sum up, here are the key features we've seen today about elements published to Confluence. The first one will be that the app lets you create Confluence pages with issue data, labels, and attachments. You can trigger this page creation either manually through the menu or during a workflow transition. You don't need to script anything or code anything. We have a what you see is what you get editor. So what you design would be what will be created in the page, and you can also create Confluence templates if you need to. It's even easier. You can publish issue details next to static contents. So you can type a paragraph and then have values from your Jira issue and then type another paragraph. So that's what we call static content. You can create dynamic page titles, dynamic contents. And finally, you can also automatically link pages in issues very easily. And that's about it. I hope you enjoy this quick presentation, and I look forward to hearing about your questions. Yes, I went a little quickly on this point. What we do is, first of all, we respect Confluence permissions. So a user will be able to create pages where he is allowed to create pages in Confluence. However, we have an option which is to publish pages on behalf of another user. So in your recipe configuration, if you put any user with a lot of permissions as the person who will create the Confluence page for the app, then their permissions will be used, and any user will be able to create a page in any space using the permission of this other user.
Okay.
But it's completely optional, so if you don't want to use this, you don't have to, and then we will respect the permissions of the user who triggers the recipe. When you trigger the recipe, if you have the permissions, it will be created as yourself. but if you don't have the permission, it will be created as the other user that has been set up. So you can, in this situation, if you create on behalf of another user, there will be no indication on the Confluence page of who was the person who triggered the recipe originally. Our limitation is that your Jira Cloud and Confluence Cloud have to be on the same site, actually. So the same .atlassian.net URL.
Is that a limit?
It's not currently possible because it's not something actually that has been requested so far by our users, but if a significant amount of user starts asking for this feature, we will be able to do it. Actually, we to get a little bit technical, we are listening to Jira webhooks. So when an issue is updated, we look into our configuration if the updated field needs to be published. And if that's the case, we update the page, the Confluence page, as if a user was typing the new information into the page. So you will also be able to see the change in the history of the Confluence page. And if you have modified the Confluence page in the meantime, you won't lose your modifications. We will not overwrite anything. We just change the value in the exact place where it's located in the page.